So there's certain artists like I'll find out about. I'm like, I kind of want to check out their works. And one recently has been a guy named Frank Thorne. I think he's most well known for like his Red Sonja. Problem is, Dynamite put out a book, but re-inked and recolored it, and kind of I don't know. Like with Frank, it seems like he's a very delicate line. Like you don't want to change that. So I then looked up and I'm like, oh, there's this book. I would love to show you all this book, but it's just porn. Like usually it's like, oh man, there's one or two pages that you can't show. With this book, I legit think there's like one or two pages I can show. It's a thing. Well, I was talking to a friend of mine. He's like, I was like, kind of want to enjoy some more Frank Thorne, blah, blah. He's like, well, you have some. Why don't you read it? I'm like, what are you talking about? Let's go look at the Old West, y'all. And man, I think this is going to be my first, I think my second DC Finest on here, but man, really good deal. So yeah, I just want to take. I'm not gonna look like through all this. There's a couple of ones I definitely want to hit in this. I have to say though, I love these DC like genre collections. I haven't gotten the sci-fi one. I heard that one was but I got the War I haven't read yet. But this Western one was a lot of fun. In some ways, a lot more fun than the horror one, which I was a little shocked by. So yeah, let's take just a quick look at this. Before we start, got to pay my bills. So check out my comic, joshgreathouse.com. Kung Fu Fantasy. So instead of a guy with a sword, a woman with a boot. And got these three physicals. But yeah, recommended highly. So let's take a look at the Old West. Now, this collection, like DC, it's an interesting way to do it. Like they show the table of contents breaks down like each issue, which is nice because sometimes they don't have the art, like the creators. Also, say publication of its time, very much so. Like it's crazy because some of this stuff it feels more progressive today, which is sad. Some of it does not. Tomahawk and Son of Tomahawk. This was the Frank Thorne stuff, and man, this is the stuff I enjoyed a lot. And the thing with Thorne, which is interesting, is like you can see the glimpses of Thorne here, but very different. Like a lot more chunkier. I don't know. It's just like there's something about this line where it's like he would get like a lot more refined and like drop a lot of lines. And yeah, like the coloring on this, yeah, kind of basic. Also, like I was able to buy this for like 20 bucks, which is like 600 pages, hard to beat. But the thing I love about Frank Thorne is his paneling and his layouts, especially like this page right here, close up of him, and then like showing like how long this can feel. I don't know. It's a lot of great stuff, and like interesting choice with the flashback here, kind of showing that the women folk can hold their own. Like I said, this was written like back in the 70s, so some of this stuff has not aged perfectly. But a fun story, fun character. And what's interesting, and I'm glad they included this one. I would love more. I'd love a collection of Tomahawks. The rest of this is Son of Tomahawk. And this one too, like I said, once again, Frank Thorne just with the great layout, especially as a horizontal panel, like just perfect with the zooming in. And what's interesting too, he ended up drawing like a lot of women, a lot of like erotica, but man, he was great at a fight scene. Like I said, Frank Thorne's, I mean, that alone with a horse. And a lot of these are kind of so the way it's kind of broken down is you have like some weird tales, or you have like certain characters. Like some of these, like this one is its own individual story. And what's interesting is Savage Tales that came out a decade later felt slower than these. I'm not even joking. Like these felt more action packed. And this one was an interesting one too because it was talking about like the Native American side. And like I said, they for their time very progressive. And this one was basically this was a story about a guy who was like a coward who didn't do right. So it's kind of like okay, you're starting to get like these stories. This one, okay, this was interesting. Interesting premise, didn't really deliver. This father and son, but this father was a marshal, and his son always wanted to follow in his footsteps. So basically, like the father's like, yeah. You got better things to do. I don't want you to lead this life. And he ends up like getting on the wrong side of the law and becoming an outlaw. And like I said, great gunfights, like great characters. And this is one that lasts a little while. Then we get Diablo. And Diablo's one, oh man, they El Diablo, they try to make this character. It's basically this comatose dude that gets like possessed by the ghosts of vengeance at night. Now here we go. Son of Tomahawk. Frank Thorne. Like one, this is like Joe Kubert. Yeah, Joe Kubert covers like, man, I would love these. And the thing I love about these, like his character, like I said, character designs always on par. But I mean, look at this titling. Who takes the time for this titling? It's great. This very feels very 70s, even though it's supposed to be like Old West. But he's half Native American, half white. But I hate that like blonde streak. But this alone, like, what an intimidating character! And this is something I would never do this layout, but it's a good choice. Like, man, great angles and like knowing when to zoom in and zoom out. And Tomahawk is still around. Son of Tomahawk, but Tomahawk's still around. Like I said, these were some of the best stories, and that is a that is such a bold choice. And like I said before, because what's cool about this, it's like you get this like taller than life, but it goes directly into these other panels just perfectly. And a lot of these, so I'm not gonna lie, like a lot of these, they're all kind of the same. They're not anything different. I think this is Neil Adams. Like he ended up doing a lot of these covers. Who did this one? Art, I don't know. And like I say, you get some interesting stuff. So more outlaw, and yeah, like I said, this collection, yeah, El Diablo. So and it's like the El Diablo aren't bad. I'm not gonna lie, but the Son of Tomahawk, that's where it's at. I think yeah, this one blew me away because like this is his this is his brother, but like I love. I swear this was a Kirby thing where it's like we do one page and into a double page splash. But what's interesting, and I see this like a manga, especially like Lone Wolf and Cub, but instead of doing like a traditional double page splash, it's like let's break it up and showing like. And what's interesting too, you can kind of see like the kid like recognizes he's not wanted. So just by having his mannerism, like he doesn't flinch. And such a great like man, this got me. This like whoop. And knowing too, like I should knowing when to use like such a skinny panel just to give you enough information. And I swear, like later on, you know what? I can't show this other book, but I can show. Do like just look how different stylistically. Like he abandoned so many lines. Like I said, I wish I could. Let's take a chance. Let's take a gander. Yeah, no. YouTube will not be happy with me. But yeah, it's interesting to see like where an artist like finishes and starts. And the other kind of crazy thing is since I've never read Tomahawk, a lot of these guys are like, this feels like Captain America or something. He had like or Sergeant Rock, and then he had like his guys with him, and you get to see like where they come from in the past and the future. Like, oh, some crazy stuff. Joe Kubert, this one like not gonna lie, white savior, but it's Joe Kubert. It's one of these. It's like, is it storytelling? Not the best. Like, not story wise, not the best, but the art. It's like, whoo. And this actually was a good one overall. It was basically this white kid with red hair grew up as a Native American. He saves this Spaniard, so he then treats him like his brother. They hang out. You get the idea. It's like they hang out for a summer. He tries wearing his wares. his friends mock him, and I mean, like, and this is where I love Joe Kubert, especially the Hastias. Like, we see this more with Tour, but we see it here. And he gets into a fight. And what's interesting with like, oh, you can tell I'm excited. So he knows how to draw a figure. He knows how to draw a body. He knows when to drop details. But look at this, because this almost is a caption panel, but it's a body. Like, oh man. And also the color choice with this, like, God, look at that panel. Like, whoo. I don't know when. I not for Bang. I kind of want to use this layout at some point, like for a cover. It was crazy though. It's like we don't get Bashlash in this or Johnny Thunder. Get more Outlaw and Diablo, and you kind of same thing. Dad hunting the kid. Kid barely escapes with his hawk that gets shot and somehow lives. And like this art isn't bad. And I think part of it too is it's like it actually does some good stuff. It's just the story's kind of boring. So it's like it doesn't hit as well. So yes, the art's important, but man, you do need that writing. And same thing with like El Diablo, it's just like, okay. Even though, yeah, like color, some bold, like flipping through and looking at the, like some bold choices, but very by the numbers. Once again, yeah, and it's like literally each and every one of these is Son of Tomahawk. And like I said, what's interesting, that's such a weird hair pattern. But it's basically this guy who hunts, he's a bounty hunter and he hunts scalps of Native Americans, which good on them for doing like in the Comics Code era. And yeah, some crazy coloring and fight sequences, especially like this, like going after the knife before he gets shot. And that's one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, 10, 11, like 11 panels, but it doesn't feel like it because a great way to show distance and a great way to like save some time on a deadline. And yeah, it's him hunting each other, like and you got the cover from Neil Adams here, Outlaw, which Jim Aparo. This character could have been. The problem is this was like a one note idea, and they tried to make it into a series, and it's like, it is what it is. El Diablo, and like El Diablo, this feels like a Batman knockoff without like if you sand down all the interesting things that make Batman, it's like, all right, like he's not Zorro, like yeah, it's like he's kind of Zorro. This one actually was probably the best one, I will say. It was a guy, if memory serves right, it was like a guy with a landmass. He was kind of cheat. It was interesting because he was cheating everyone. Oh no, this is the one. Sorry, El Diablo needed to bring in a body to pay like help pay for this farm, and every time like like they got killed or something happened to them where it's like they were no longer recognizable. And yeah, more Son of Tomahawk, and like I said, that purple and yellow is like, whew, bold, just the boldest of choices. And in some ways, like not a, the last one kind of did a similar one. I almost wish like he switched this around a bit, played around with the layouts a little bit more. Also, this reminds me of Chris Schweizer, especially here. But yeah, just great. Like, and I do want you all to read this. Like, it's easy for me to go, oh, this is this story, this is that story. They have these like kind of breaking down like what was happening in the West. Fight out hair. Like, and this was another one. It was it's Joe Kubert, so it's well done. You can kind of tell though they tried to make it a thing, and it just never really worked. And in some ways, like I'm almost curious if he was pure Native American, if this would have worked better. Billy the Kid, classic, Billy the Kid. I'm not gonna lie, I can say this right here. I'm not a big fan. Like Billy the Kid to me, of all the characters in the West, I always felt like he was the because it's the young upstart that was like fast draw. It's like okay, and once again, like not a bad. It's not a bad one. It's a western. Um, Town Tamer, Gil Kane, and yeah, you got some big names on this. Gil Kane, because who did this one? Gil Kane and Tony designed. Yeah, Tony. Like this was one of my favorite inkers for Big Joe or Big John on Conan. I mean, look at that face, especially the color choices here. And yeah, it's like, does a gun muzzle that bright? No, but it's cool. And once again, like you see, like Joe Kubert just having fun. Like I think that's the other fun thing I think of like Tomahawk. He just has fun, and this was a great, like another great one. It's him reading this book, this catalog, and thinking about future, and just like what's the price of gold? Basically, like what's the price of charming a young lady? So spoilers. Let's jump a little bit ahead because, like I said, this is when they really start pushing El Diablo, Son of Tomahawk. This, oh my gosh, this felt more progressive. I hate to say it. I'm like, wow, I don't know if you would do a story this. We always say it's like, oh, they can't do this story nowadays. It's a story of its time, blah blah. This feels more progressive than a story. Like, I feel like a lot of people would be upset by the story. Another one, like crazy layouts, like just. But you have, and like I said, just even doing this, you have two ex-slaves going for freedom and this slave catcher coming to fight. Basically it's like they're free, they're on free land, like they're no longer slaves. But does that stop the man? Of course not. And it's interesting too because it's like it ain't what a man wears that makes him a slave, but not the feeling in his soul. Like it's really well written to the point where it's like they thought about this. Even him, like and of course, like there's a little bit of white savior, even with Tomahawk or Son of Tomahawk. But man, it's sad. Like he gets massacred. Like luckily his boy lives, but man, and yeah, once again, like fire. This one was actually a good one. It was Firehead trying to capture this horse for his own, and it's like it's Joe Kubert. Like man, Outlaw. I think this was the last Outlaw. I could be wrong, but yeah, it's just like Billy the Kid. Um, And in some ways, like I enjoyed this one too, the Timberwolf, like a quick in and out story, like some great paneling, of course. This one though, like this cover, oh my gosh. Because I think what I love about this cover, it's like you get a little cheesecake, but it feels like an actual human. You get the danger, and then you get all three of these in the story. And this is one of these, the classic of like um going back and exploring like Tomahawk when he was young. It was interesting too with Frank Thorne. It's like he definitely pushed the boundaries where it's like, okay, if she's bathing, then let's make her bathing. Like, yeah, it doesn't it doesn't upset the comic scope, but they definitely are pushing some things. And of course, jilted lover, doesn't want a white man marrying the daughter, falls in love anyway. Like I said, these aren't and I'm saying these aren't deep stories. They're just I mean, like I need to try this. I need to try this out. Like, whew. Hatfields and McCoy. This one was an interesting one, a different kind of Christmas story. Like, if you're going to do like Christmas reading, I might add this one because man, this was like this didn't feel very much like Christmas, but it was an interesting. And I'll say this: like, I love Christmas time. I'll definitely explore it. At least me personally, like, it's good to have those like okay palate cleansers, and this feels like one of them. This was like a longer one too. But yeah, like zooming in, zooming out. I'm a fan of that. The paneling, and granted, I won't lie, this definitely ends in a way that's like, everything's great. It's like, sure. This was an interesting one too. Like this was a quick, and sometimes like these quick little stories, like I said, 3 or 4 pages, but in and out. Now this is one I guarantee you. This is why everyone wants this book, Jonah Hex. I'm not gonna lie. This was especially an introduction to Jonah Hex. Like the gimmick, I know the gimmick, but I love how they make his face in shadow. And it's some great paneling, great storytelling. And what's great is how many times can Josh say great? What's wonderful about this though, he's kind of a dick, but it's like you get his personality, you get his character. Like you're not questioning it. he's got morals, he's got standards, but he's very rough around the edges, and I can see why this character took off. What kills me though, great build up, great paneling, and then just like this should have been a page turn. This should have been a page turn. And so reading all of this, especially like Outlaw, El Diablo, I can see why Jonah Hex has lasted throughout the years. Like it's not a question. Also, this feels like often you hear like, oh, we wouldn't have Vertigo without Swamp Thing, without this, without that. I think Jonah Hex was the start of that road. And I say that because like the stories are a little bit like they're adult in the way of complex like story ideas. They're not simple like just, in and out. El Diablo. I think this is this when Neil takes over? Like I said, they really try to make El Diablo think. Oh, sorry, this is the one where he's trying to find. I forget what the other one. I think this was the one where he's trying to find a body to like turn it in. Son of Tomahawk. And this is basically like the town's drying up. Oh no, there's gold in the mayor like literally kills everyone in the town to hide the gold, like to hide the gold in the mine. Like I said, not the deepest of stories. Oh, but man, great way to show like light going out. This one I found interesting too because it's showing like where they're going deeper in the tunnel. And like I said, some bold choices. And also, like I said, there are times like you need that beginning because it's like they don't have who did what. Jonah Hex. This was a class. I think this was a this like the Jonah Hex ones were some of the best. Son of Tomahawk, I think were a little bit better for me, but I think it's just because like you can kind of tell like Hex. I feel like with Hex, the more like if they had more of these, Hex would definitely maybe overtake Son of Tomahawk. But right now, then El Diablo is under El Diablo. Got Cubert though, and yeah, there's some of the trappings like basically a white woman gets kidnapped and it's them trying to rescue her. But man, like like the layout here, even just that little bit there. What's interesting about this one, and man, that layout again, great for action. Like I said, I need to experiment. This is basically like she doesn't want to go back. She's fighting tooth or nail to get back to her husband. So it's a well done like. And the other thing that's interesting with Son of Tomahawk, he's half Native American, half white man. So it's like you do get some interesting stories. This was an interesting one because it was kind of showing like both sides, and of course it's Custer's last stand. But man, just the like you have all this, but then the last page being like the mural showing the depiction of the war, like such a brilliant choice. Yeah, I found like I said, trying to make El Diablo a thing, and you can tell like these are not thick pages at all, but it's fine. And yeah, I gets a wolf. I think that was the last Son of Tomahawk. 'Cause it ends on. For me, I'm like, I wish there was more Son of Tomahawk, which who knew? Yeah, and it's like I can talk about Jonah Hex, but at the same time, I know that's what like people are gonna read. This cover though, man, this was a brilliant cover. Especially him as like an out like as a line, especially his eye, but more of a silhouette. Yeah, and I think like Bernie Wrightson and Neil Adams on this. Like, what a stellar team, and it's kind of like, El Diablo. Oh, the Jonah Hex, like, yeah, Tony DeZella, like, he was such a great choice for Jonah Hex. And I found this one interesting. Like, I almost would have made that white. but some bold like that purples and that like yeah the yellows. Like I said, some bold choices here. Another great use of silhouette. Whew. And what's interesting is this was all approved by the Comics Code, and it's like I wonder if like this was like a slightly older audience reading this. I'm not quite sure. Like I don't know. It's just some bold like this is a great one too. Like showing him being shot, but it almost felt like, especially having all these panels, made him feel so much slower. Yeah, Neil Adams. And once again, like this is actually some of the. I think this is some of the best art. And I mean, this. Oof, look at like it almost kills me because I wish El Diablo was more interesting. Basically, these guys break out of prison or jail and they're looking for some old gold. Yeah, and this is El Diablo. He's a invalid, and then all of a sudden he's not. It's like the problem is too. He's like a vengeance spirit. Blah 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 blah. He's so one noted though. Like there's no conflicts. Like okay. Iron Jaw. The other thing I found interesting, like they introduce like sidekicks for Jonah Hex, then they end up dying. Like they don't last. So anyway, yeah, that's we're getting to like I think the near the end of the Western. Oh wait, okay, I have to talk about this. Even though I hate this layout. Hate when books do this, but yeah, we got a Toth. And this one's interesting because it's this older cowboy who somehow goes into the future, and it's one of these like it's a weird story because I feel like if I describe it, I won't be able to like describe it, but it hits so well. And what's interesting too, like showing like the modern day like Hicks like pretending to be be a cowboy compared to a real cowboy. And it's even like little things like this, like showing a little bit of sexuality in the comics code. And of course, like, man, Toth, I wish we could, I always wish we could have got more West, like more from Toth, but Westerns especially would have been fun. And what's interesting is this cowboy's running from the law and they shoot him and they find his bones. But then all of a sudden, the lawman, it's from my hollow corner of the universe, an unheard voice whispers, "Welcome to the 19th century, gents, and never mind how or why you got here." With a bunch of Native Americans looking over, like, oh, just so. Like I said, some of the, and like I said, not always perfect. And what kills me too, like some great art. But yeah, El Diablo, El Diablo. I'm hoping we get a Western Volume 2. I'm also hoping to see like how long some of these stories last. Hi, apps. So someone wants to come up here and be petted, and someone turn off the recording, um, which is fine. I need to wrap this up anyway. Yeah, that was a great face. Like I said, a lot. Oh man, this was a little one. Who did this one? Gil Kane. I just want to point this out. Like, what a great way of showing like someone inhumanity. Like, because he basically is like kill. He realizes he can kill for money, and it's like it's a well done story. This one was weird. The Ballad of Doctor. This one, okay. This one I gotta take a second to talk about. Um, this one was weird, like wild and weird. It's basically like saying, like, is this cheerful guy that's like, ah, shucks, sell me your soul, like literally, sell me your soul so you can enjoy the joys of singing, like great demons and monsters, but like a weird storyline where it's like because it's not like oh, the town folks' greed. It just almost feels like, nah, Satan did this. And like the melting of the flesh. And yeah, it's like we never get a story like this again. It's like, oh, okay. El Diablo, El Diablo, El Diablo, El Diablo, Jonah Hex. Found this interesting too with the tiger or with the zebra stripe kind of look. But yeah, Jonah Hex. This was a lot of fun too because this was basically he's kind of getting used by these families to like hunt down like these people, and it turns like you found out why. And it's little things like this, like this. Okay, this is a great moment. So Hex is trying to get some information. The guy is playing dumb. So this kid comes in and asks the same questions, and he basically tells him like, "Gosh, kid," explains everything. You see, Jonah Hex is watching, like waiting, and just look at that punch. It's so over the top. It's ridiculous. So I don't know. It's like it fits in this perfect realm of like fun, over the top, like, and they're definitely one. Like, there's a little bit of continuity, but they're one and done adventures, and I think it works well. And man, that was a great cover. Oh, and this one definitely felt like Vertical with the coloring, like a lot more like desaturated colors. And he had this character, the judge, this old woman. Like, oh, so like I said, I'm hoping we get a volume two, and I can point like in some ways, like I don't. What's weird is, and I can talk about like great paneling, great paneling. I don't want to talk about this too much because I want you all to read this because I don't want it to be spoiled. And then and then you got El Diablo, and I think yeah, that's literally it. The only thing I kind of wish with this with DC, like show, I don't know, like show some house ads. It would be cool to get some house ads, but at the same time, like you usually get these half off. It's hard to beat. So yeah, if you want some great Western comics, this is one of the best I can recommend. I'm hoping we get a volume two, three, and so forth and so on. So anyway, yeah, check it out, y'all. This is usually where I'd end, but cat. What a ham.